In the blistering heat of a Montana summer, where the sun beat down like an unrelenting judge on the parched earth, old man Harlan Reed stood at the edge of his crumbling ranch, his weathered hands trembling as he clutched the barrel of his shotgun. His eyes, once sharp as a hawk's, now blurred with tears, fixed on the emaciated horse lying in the dust-choked corral, its ribs protruding like the bones of a forgotten ghost. "I'm begging you, hurry up," Harlan whispered through gritted teeth, not to the horse, but to the fate that had cornered him here, forcing a decision that twisted his soul like barbed wire. The animal, his faithful companion through decades of isolation and hardship, wheezed faintly, its eyes pleading for mercy in a world that had shown none. As the rancher took a step closer, the weight of his boots crunching on the dry gravel echoing like a final judgment, he raised the gun, his finger hovering on the trigger, and did the unthinkable. If this opening has already tugged at your heartstrings, and if you believe in the power of kindness and second chances that can redeem even the darkest moments, then please hit that like button, drop a comment below sharing your thoughts, share this video with someone who needs a reminder of humanity's gentle side, and subscribe to Gentle Hearts for more stories that celebrate the quiet heroes among us. Harlan Reed had inherited the ranch from his father, a stern man who taught him that land was more than soil, it was a legacy etched in sweat and sacrifice. But over the years, as droughts ravaged the fields and debts piled up like storm clouds, the once vibrant spread had withered into a shadow of itself. Harlan's wife, Eliza, had been his anchor, her warm smile cutting through the loneliness of rural life, but cancer had stolen her away 5 years prior, leaving him with nothing but echoes in the empty farmhouse and a horse named Dusty that she'd loved like a child. Dusty, with his chestnut coat now faded to a dull gray, had carried Harlan through blizzards and bountiful harvests alike, a silent partner in his grief. Now, at 72, Harlan faced the cruel arithmetic of survival. The vet bills were insurmountable, the feed scarce, and Dusty's suffering had stretched on for weeks, each labored breath a dagger to Harlan's heart. He had sold off cattle, pawned family heirlooms, even begged the bank for extensions, but the land was slipping away, and with it, the last threads of his identity. Mornings blurred into nights of sleepless agony, where Harlan would sit by the corral under the starlit sky, stroking Dusty's mane and whispering apologies for a world that demanded such harsh choices. The neighbors, sparse as they were, offered sympathetic nods but little else. In this rugged corner of the world, everyone fought their own battles against nature's indifference. As the days dragged on, Harlan's isolation deepened, his mind a whirlwind of memories that clashed with the present's brutality. He recalled the day he and Eliza had rescued Dusty as a colt from a neglectful owner, how the horse had bolted across the fields with unbridled joy once freed, symbolizing the fresh start they all craved. But now, that joy was a distant dream, replaced by the horse's deteriorating condition, a mysterious ailment that started with a limp and escalated to immobility, leaving Dusty prone and vulnerable to the elements. Harlan had tried everything: herbal remedies from old rancher lore, prayers muttered in the dim light of dawn, even driving hours to a free clinic only to be turned away for lack of funds. The struggle gnawed at him, eroding his resolve like the wind carving canyons into rock. He questioned his worth, wondering if he was failing not just Dusty, but the memory of Eliza, who had always preached compassion over convenience. Sleepless nights brought visions of her gentle face, urging him to hold on, but the reality of Dusty's pain was inescapable, a constant reminder of life's fragility. Harlan's hands, calloused from years of labor, now shook with indecision. He wandered the ranch like a ghost, tending to phantom chores while his heart fractured under the weight of impending loss. Yet, amid this despair, a flicker of change began to emerge, subtle as the first raindrop in a drought. It started with a stranger's truck rumbling down the dusty road one afternoon, kicking up clouds that obscured the horizon like forgotten hopes. The driver, a young veterinarian named Clara, had heard whispers of Harlan's plight from a mutual acquaintance at the local feed store, a place where ranchers swapped stories of hardship like currency. Clara, fresh from veterinary school and driven by a passion to aid rural animals overlooked by the system, had founded a mobile clinic funded by donations, traversing backroads to offer care where it was needed most. She arrived unannounced, her vehicle laden with supplies, her eyes scanning the ranch with a mix of empathy and determination. Harlan, suspicious at first, waved her off with gruff words born of pride, but as she knelt by Dusty, her gentle touch and diagnostic tools revealing a treatable infection masked by malnutrition, something stirred in him. For the first time in months, Harlan allowed vulnerability to crack his armored exterior, sharing tales of Eliza and the ranch's glory days over lukewarm coffee on the porch. Clara's visits became a lifeline, not just for Dusty, but for Harlan, who found in her youthful optimism a mirror to his own buried resilience. The transformation unfolded gradually, building like a gathering storm that promised renewal rather than destruction. Clara's treatments, antibiotics scavenged from her network, nutritional supplements bartered from sympathetic suppliers, began to revive Dusty, his breath steadying, his eyes regaining a spark of life. Harlan, inspired by this unexpected ally, mustered the strength to confront his debts head-on, reaching out to community programs he had once dismissed as handouts. He joined a local cooperative of ranchers pooling resources against the drought, sharing water rights and machinery in a collective stand against isolation. The challenges persisted, the land remained unforgiving, bills loomed like predators, but Harlan's struggles now carried a thread of hope, woven from human connection. He watched as Dusty tentatively rose to his feet one crisp morning, the horse's whinny echoing across the fields like a victory cry, and in that moment, Harlan felt the weight lift, replaced by a quiet gratitude. The ranch, though scarred, began to heal, wildflowers pushed through cracked soil, symbolizing the second chances that bloom in the unlikeliest places. Clara's presence evolved into friendship, her stories of her own losses, a brother to addiction, a dream deferred, mirroring Harlan's pain, forging a bond that transcended generations. As the seasons shifted, the ranch transformed into a testament to endurance, with Harlan mentoring young locals in sustainable farming, turning his hardships into lessons for others. Dusty, fully recovered, trotted alongside him once more, a living emblem of redemption. The unthinkable act Harlan had contemplated that fateful day, ending his companion's life out of mercy, faded into a pivotal turning point, a moment where despair nearly won but kindness prevailed. In its stead came a profound realization, that begging for hurry in times of crisis often masks a deeper plea for patience, for the unseen hands of fate to intervene. Harlan's story, whispered among the ranching community, inspired others to seek help rather than suffer in silence, rippling outward like rings in a pond. He stood taller now, his gaze clear, embracing the land not as a burden but as a canvas for renewal, where every scar told of survival and every dawn promised possibility. If this tale of redemption and unbreakable bonds has touched your heart, stirring emotions that remind you of life's fragile beauty, then I urge you from the depths of my own moved soul, please like this video, share it with those who need its warmth, and subscribe to Gentle Hearts to keep these inspiring stories coming. Your engagement means the world and helps spread messages of hope far and wide. And before we part ways, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your favorite line from this story that resonated most deeply. Let's connect through the words that move us all.